Good evening and welcome to the third round of Simsport Racing's GT4 Season 5 here from the fantastic 𝗬𝗦𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 Monza in Milan. After two spectacular rounds in the UK, we fly to the Italian Cathedral of Speed, the 5.793 kilometre circuit. Only 11 turns, but they're some of the most iconic in the racing world. And I'm joined in the commentary box by my co-commentator, partner in crime and GT4 madness analyst, David Wressell. David, how are you doing this evening? And looking forward to this evening's race, a unique track. I'm excited to say that we've definitely got some interesting racing ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Tim, and good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday evening. It is going to be an absolute belter, mate. I'm sure you will agree with me. A track that is very much blessed with top speed. As a minimum, you do need to have that, and we've got a fantastic balance of cars across the grid. Of course, we've got KTMs, we've got BMWs, McLarens, 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗗𝗏𝗏s, Porsches, enough to really keep us guessing. Of course, with the reverse grid, it's going to pose for even more action. So it's going to be a fantastic race tonight, and I am very, very excited indeed.
This evening, after the race is finished, we will be halfway through this Season 5, but looking back to the second round at Donington Park, it was 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗏 in a Tron Racing 626 BMW taking a stellar victory, but it wasn't without pressure from behind, with Jenson Button in the Rocket Esports Alpine closing in the final laps. Third, going the way of our Season 4 champion Luka Berk, ahead of Michael O'Brien in the Rocket Esports McLaren, currently leading the way in the championship. 𝗬𝗘𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏 taking a solid 5th place ahead of 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗗𝗏, Chris Shaw, Regan Mitchell, 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏, and Season 2 champion Aaron Walker rounding out the top 10. But like you say, David, reverse grid, and looking forward to this evening's race. Here we go. Here are those championship standings. Michael O'Brien leading the way ahead of Luka Berk and Jenson Button. 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏𝗏, who, after winning last week's race, will start 15th on the grid, but with the strength of the BMW being in a straight line and him surrounded by a multitude of 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏s, expecting to see him move forward, David.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, it's definitely one of the quicker ones in a straight line. If you look at that and the McLaren of Michael O'Brien, you're going to be expecting them to be the real movers and shakers up the grid, obviously with having the grunt and the top speed that they do. And like you say, the 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏s, they've probably got around about a 20-30 kilometre an hour deficit. So they're going to be very easy to get behind. But obviously, as we know, getting past them is a different question.
The Zansho Simsport team leading the way, both drivers, 𝗬𝗘𝗟𝗏𝗏 and Luka Berk, in the Porsche 718 Cayman, which is hit with 50 kilos of ballast. But they lead the way by 30 points ahead of Butler Powell Motorsport duo René Butler, team owner, and 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏. Those two in the 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏 G55. Then with the Mob 7 Zansho Esports team, only 4 points adrift in the McLaren. That's Chris Shaw and 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏 completing that driver lineup. But interestingly to see that in 5th place, Dunn Motorsport CST, highest place AM team, Mark Raddenbury and Ollie Gill doing a fantastic job to set their squad halfway in the field. So plenty of opportunity to bag some important points, David. We say that every race is important, and in a season consisting of only 6 races, that couldn't be more true. But with the unique format of Monza, with the the straight line speed, with the emphasis on nailing braking markers, surviving that clean lap, this evening is going to be very important for those drivers hoping to see their name etched on the trophy come season end.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, and I think going back to the standings we looked at before, the top 4, so from Michael O'Brien down to 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, are only separated by 14 points. So it's a very close one, and one race that doesn't necessarily go your way can really impact your chances. Of course, like you say, with it being only a 6-race championship, and that reverse grid obviously throws another element into the mix as well. It means that we don't have to worry about qualifying, so it does give those who don't necessarily have as good a race the previous time out, it gives them effectively the best position possible, provided they're in that top 15 for tonight. And if we look at, we'll see the grid in a moment, we'll run through it as soon as the guys get up on track over the next few minutes, but the top 3, if I'm not mistaken, are 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏s, and like we said, probably the slowest manufacturer on the grid this evening. So going into turn 1, which obviously at Monza we know can be eventful, it's probably the way I would explain it. It's yeah, it's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, good evening to 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏, Mark 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡 and Andrew Fife, who are watching on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. And David and myself are definitely looking forward to bringing you the action from tonight's event. And if the last two races have been anything to go by, it's going to be packed from start to finish. And we saw last time out, David, that Jenson Button didn't lie down and take second place. He was desperate to close in on 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏. And I get the feeling that although he said finishing in the top 15 will be great in the Alpine this evening, that competitive spirit of a Formula One world champion will see him wanting to climb even higher up the order.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And obviously, the Alpine it's not the quickest car, but it's also definitely not the slowest. And it's going to be a nice car to have through that kind of the middle sector where you've got the Lesmos and you've got the second chicane and things like that. So it's where the slower sections come in. He's not going to be too far off that ultimate pace that you're going to see of, like, say, the McLarens and the BMWs. So I wouldn't expect him to stay where he is. Of course, like you say, one of these things of Monza with the first couple of corners being as tight as they are, obviously the Rettifilio being that first chicane, and as you go through Curva Grande into the second chicane as well, I think the main thing he's going to be looking for, and probably most of the people towards that mid-pack of the grid, their main focus is going to be, right, keep an eye in pretty much a whole 360 degrees around my car and just try to get there unscathed and then start to build on your race from there. Of course, 45 minutes, it's not a short race, it's not really a long race as such, but there's plenty of time to make up any positions that you might lose, maybe just by being a little bit cautious through that first couple of corners. So I think with those guys, that should be a plan, or that'd be my plan at least from them. Get through those first couple of corners unscathed, and they're going to build your race plan from there on in.
And one of the features that we love so much about GT4 racing is the unique characteristics of each of the individual GT4 cars out there on the grid. And as we've alluded to already, some of the cars are a little bit slower than the others in a straight line, and at a circuit where speed is of the utmost importance, we could see the grid very much shaken and flipped and stirred, and any kind of muddling kind of way you want to put it. But tonight's event, as we've alluded to, is crucial and is important, but also it's giving drivers who maybe have missed a round or scored, haven't scored as well as they've wanted to, a chance to fight back. And I'm thinking about one driver in particular, David. He's the man who's been setting the pace in practice this evening and indeed throughout this week in the run-up to the event. And that's Aaron Walker, who lines up in fifth, obviously benefiting from the absence of Michael Haffenden in the 861 HF Impala car, who's not feeling very well. So we hope Michael's feeling better. But Aaron, who missed out on the first race at Oulton Park, a very, very solid finish last time out at Donington to come home in sixth after starting well down the order. But to find himself that high up the grid in a car that has the capability to romp away with it, it could turn Walker's championship around.
Exactly, yeah. It can be definitely the making of his season for sure. Like I say, we're 3 rounds in as of the start of this evening, and yeah, he's very, very quick. He was a very good amount of time ahead of a couple of the guys in the practice session, like you said, which they were doing just before this session gets underway. So he's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. And I know for a fact that he spoke to broadcast director Steve Proudley before this evening, and did say, look, if I can stay out of trouble, I feel I would be disappointed if I wasn't to get a little bit higher up the grid. So he'll definitely be one to keep an eye on. And it's interesting to see because the KTM, it's not necessarily the car of choice. I know if I'm not mistaken, you'll probably know this far better than I do, but I'm sure he's normally a McLaren man. So to see him jump into the KTM is an interesting decision. But I would imagine, and like I say, if he can keep it clean, it's definitely going to be one that's going to pay off for him tonight.
Well, actually, David, to come back to you saying that I should know about this, having raced against Aaron in Season 2 when he was in the KTM, to say that he was pretty much untouchable would be potentially doing him disservice. And at Monza, which was the opening round of that second season in GT4s, he romped away with it. He did, and was very much the only car that was close to him was teammate Stephen Haley, also in a KTM. But the sole KTM out on track this evening, Aaron Walker has the ball in his court. All the his numbers are coming up on the dials. Everything's going his way this evening. So if we had to pick someone to watch, as you can see with that gap in front of him left vacant by Michael Haffenden, he's the driver to have your eyes locked onto in the 99 Simsport A KTM. But let's give you a quick run down the grid. It's Lem who picks up pole position after a very solid finish in the Ginetta at Donington Park, ahead of Rene Butler in the 228 Butler Motorsports team. And then it's third place goes the way of Luke Rogers, in the 211, with Stein Paspont in the number 444 Maserati, another car that we are going to keep our eye on. Interesting to see how one of the most unique GT4s fares around this Monza circuit. Alongside him, Aaron Walker in fifth place, ahead of Regan Mitchell, the second of the two 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏 Maseratis, with Chris Shaw and Benjamin Tusting, teammates in the Mob 7 Zansho Esports McLarens, lining up in 7th and 8th. And Aidan Bro, one of our championship contenders, in 9th on the grid, alongside Will Dendy, Michael O'Brien 11th, Luka Berk in 12th, Jenson Button 13th, Aaron Martin Pilkington, race winner last time out, 14th, obviously would be starting 15th, but it's been elevated one position. Then Gavin Utley in the second Alpine is 15th in our order, ahead of Ollie Gill, who was pole sitter last time out. Then it's Angus Martin in the 863 HF Impala Aston Martin, with Wagner Marquez, Mark Roddenberry and Richard Pixley rounding out the top 20. But going through that order, David, you get down to positions 9 to 14, and the grid is stacked with the big names right in that midfield. Interesting to see how those guys fare, not only on lap 1, but going through the rest of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting first couple of corners for sure. You've got a couple of the guys see a bit further back as well, a 37 strong grid this evening. So it's going to be busy going into the first couple of corners. That would probably be an understatement, to be fair, as you see Francisco Leme leading the way on this formation lap to kick things off. But yeah, like you say, Aidan Bro all the way down to Aaron Martin Pilkington, no disrespect to the other guys, but they are some very, very quick drivers, and certainly going to be something to keep an eye out for. Interesting to see how many of them will look to be the aggressor in the first couple of corners and make some moves, maybe just to try and get away from the others, obviously, because a lot of them are fighting for that championship, like you say. So it would be interesting to see whether they do have differing strategies in terms of what they're going to try of those first couple of corners and first couple of laps as well.
So here we go then. The 37 car strong grid heads round the opening chicane on their warm-up lap. But we saw last time out at Donington Park that crucial to the eventual race result was getting those passes done early on, as you alluded to, David. It's about making those moves. And we heard from Jenson Button post-race that he found it difficult to make passes in the Alpine. He said you have to do it on the brakes, you have to beat them into the apex of the corner, because in comparison to the other cars on the grid, it really lacks in a straight line. And one of those cars that might be struggling on the way into corners, as you mentioned to me before we went live, is this Maserati, the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏 duo. This car doesn't have ABS, and that's going to make these heavy stopping points at Monza even more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you say, no ABS, no traction control either. So the heavy stopping zones into the first couple of chicanes, and therefore the traction zones out of it, are going to be something that a lot of people are going to have to try and make the most out of. It is a wide car. You can see how big of a car it is. It's almost affectionately similar in way to the size of the Bentley in the GT3 class compared to every other car in there. But it isn't going to be the easiest one to tame around here. But knowing Regan, Mitchell and Stein Paspont and the way they like to do things, they do like a nice challenge. So I would imagine they're looking forward to this one, despite the fact they're in arguably one of the weaker cars, just based on general drivability, that's going to be around this circuit tonight.
So on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the order for the grid, and the 45-minute race this evening will get underway shortly. The drivers just heading down towards the iconic Ascari chicane. But as we look down that order, there are some driver numbers with a white background and some with red. Those with red are competing for their separate championship, which is the AM category. And Season 4 champion in the inaugural AM class, Mark Roddenberry, starts 19th, alongside his main competitor for that crown, Richard Pixley, who finished second, actually, last time out in class at Donington. And with a 12-point gap between them, Pixley leading Roddenberry. Although that battle's far down the order, David, it's still crucial for a title.
Yeah, certainly one to keep an eye out for. Of course, if I'm not mistaken, everyone tonight, assuming they finish, will get points. So it's certainly going to be something to keep an eye out for. My thought for those two is they'll be looking forward to that kind of 15th, 14th position, get a good run up there, get past a couple of the guys in front of them if they can. Of course, they've got some pretty fast cars ahead of them as well. But if they can get into that elusive 14th, 15th spot on the grid by the end of this evening, obviously perfect start for the next round next week.
So as the cars line up into their two separate rows and round the final corner at Parabolica to get round 3 of Season 5 GT4s underway here at Simsport Racing. René Butler alongside Francisco 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏, who leads the field away. And as they drag past the pit lane entry, they will be getting underway shortly at a circuit where slipstream is king. Who will be sat on the throne this evening as it goes green, 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 and we are underway here at Monza, and the drag down to the first chicane. It looks like the three 𝗦𝗍𝗔𝗥 are fairly unchallenged, but to the top of your screen you can see the swarm of GT4s that will shortly be arriving at the Variante del Retrofilio as they head into the braking zone. It looked like Luke Rogers, going in very deep, and that's taken 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 off as well. He had no opportunity to turn into the first apex. They skip across the grass and the asphalt on the inside of turns 1 and 2. But as the grid managed to get through fairly cleanly, there's a bit of jostling as the traffic jam heads through those first 2 corners. But 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 and Butler lead the way despite chopping across the chicane. Then it's Rogers, and as we see the order adjust, I think that's Aaron Walker who's made a spectacular start to get up to 3rd. Butler going round the outside of 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏. There's contact. Butler up on the curb, hits the side of 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏. And there's just no avoiding that, but Aaron Walker's looking to benefit. He goes to the outside into the first. 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 opts to tuck in behind, and he'll get a run out of the second corner, I'm sure. The second 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 on the run down to Ascari, but a difficult start there, David. 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 was hung out to dry on the outside. He couldn't turn in and opted for the escape route. Yeah, absolutely. The Retrofilio chicane was definitely eventful to say the least, but unfortunately most of them managed to get it through okay. Into the second chicane, the Rogers chicane, where you saw Butler and 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 come together again. In my opinion, 6.5 they both on the inside of the respective entry. And unfortunately, the second one, Butler obviously shifted 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 out onto the outside. It looks like he's dropped down to, I think he's in 5th at the moment. But Aaron Walker, as you can see, all over the back of the leading chest, coming down towards the parabolic for the first time. So the outside line to make the move. But knowing that these 𝗦𝗍𝗔𝗏s don't necessarily have that straight line speed, it's going to be interesting to see when they start to limit to as such, how many people are going to get past them over the first time over this main straight. It looks like René Butler across the line after the first lap, but Aaron Walker tucked in, looking like he's going to be making the pass into turn 1. Fantastic start in the Cayman. He's there as well, making the podium. And it looks like he's going to get up the inside of one of the Butler Powell Motorsport 𝗦𝗍𝗔𝗏s. Meanwhile, behind the two Maseratis slip further back. A little bit of contact with one of the Rocket Esports and the McLarens. And it looks like Fabio 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 has been spun round. He's just made contact on the second part of that opening chicane. So the pole sitter dropping back down the order as Aaron Martin Pilkington skips across the inside of the first chicane as well. Michael O'Brien up the order, now in 9th, but behind he's got Tusting and championship contender Luka Berk locked in behind. Let's see if this gaggle of cars can make it through the second chicane very cleanly. On the inside, Marquez as well, looking for an opportunity up the inside. But here's your race winner from Donington Park, Aaron Martin Pilkington, now on the back of Angus Martin in the Aston Martin. Yeah, I've been waiting all season to say that. Martin Pilkington, we've seen him fight his way up through the order, and I'm expecting to see him do the same this evening. Yeah, absolutely. So going to the second level, all over the back of that Aston Martin. You see a massive gaggle of cars in front of him. You've got 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏, Button. Yeah, Button's just behind 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 at the moment. I think that you've got Matt Richards and 𝗦𝗍𝗔𝗏 in there. This is, I believe, Aaron Martin Pilkington about 17th. You've got Rich Pixley just behind him as well. So he's an 18th. So he's dropped down a little bit off the start. Again, you saw quite a few people going through. So just the outside of Angus Martin into Sky. It's a nice little move there. A place where you can have a bit of a coming together if you're not too careful, but a good bit of compliance from the two drivers there, and he's managed to make them stick, and he's now going to have to focus on trying to regain some position. See, I think that's 𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏 in the background again, Tim, going backwards and sideways through Ascari. It's not been the start for him, really, is it? It's gone from bad to worse for our pole sitter. Francisco Lem looking like he was spun around on the exit of Ascari, but 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗏 now making a move on René Butler for second place on the run-up to the first corner. And it looks like he's just dragged past, despite the Cayman carrying 50 kilograms of ballast. 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡𝗏, the Zansho Simsport driver, able to make the move before the first corner. So that's really important for his race, because at the top of the standings at the moment, Aaron Walker is attempting to escape from the rest of this battle pack, a 1.7 second advantage as they cross the line to finish lap 2. Regan Mitchell falling backwards slightly from his starting position, but it's no surprise considering how close together everyone was. Aidan Bro here looking at the back of 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗡𝗏 for 6th position. In the Ginetta, it's going to be so difficult to make a move, but that's not going to stop Bro as he looks towards the outside on the way into the first Lesmo. He'll run out over the curb. Bro needs to be careful. He could catch the grass there and find himself spinning off to the inside, a la Lewis Hamilton 2009. But Aidan Bro tucking in behind him as well, in the slipstream. But David, that's a tactic, something to employ actually. Can you stick with a faster car if you're in one of these Ginettas or Alpines, as you see the absolute battle pack on the right hand side of your screen? Cameron 5 doing a solid job at the moment, 23rd in amongst the mosh pit really further down the order. But I wonder if you are in one of these slower cars, doing what Bro's doing on your screen, tucking right in behind the black and white Maserati and hoping that it can drag you up the order.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. We've mentioned enough times, and we'll mention it, I'm sure, many more times this evening. The Ginetta does not have the same top speed as any of these other GT4 cars, not even close. So if they can get behind them, then absolutely it needs to be done. They need to try and stick on the back of these guys, try and get some... there used to be a contact going into Parabolica there. I couldn't catch who that was who went off the side. I think it was Cameron. It wasn't Cameron Fife. It was Dennis Fife sort of caught up in that. I can see who he managed to collect, unfortunately. But yeah, they're going to have to try and do it. But even then, you can see Aidan Bro at the moment. He's right on the back of 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but he just can't get close enough to make a move. So it's going to have to be Daniel Ricciardo lick the stamp and send it style if they're going to try and make any moves, and they're going to have to be done into these couple of chicanes, I think.
And that's allowing Michael O'Brien behind in the McLaren to close up rapidly. He's now only a second back from that battling duo. But here is your Season 4 champion, Luka Berk, in 11th place. He's only made up 2 positions in World Championship contenders, like 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Michael O'Brien and Aidan Bro managed to really scramble their way up the field with those opening laps. Now you're starting to really settle down and assess who's in front, who's behind, where is the race going to start heading, because with 37, or best part of 38 minutes to go, that time's going to fly by and make a long move here and find yourself tumbling down the order before the checkered flag. Aidan Bro looking like the best he can do is really just stick in behind that Maserati, because Michael O'Brien's closing at no ends. He wasn't able to make the move, and now he's kind of left in this awkward position of, I'm being caught and I can't do much about the cars in front.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see how much Michael O'Brien's closed at him in the last couple of corners. I mean, the McLaren is quick enough in a straight line anyway. It's even quicker when you compare it to the Ginetta. He's not managed to close up too much for Ascari, because I think obviously the Ginetta's quite a nimble car, of course, going through those couple of corners. But it looks like Aidan Bro's got a much better run out of Parabolica on 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 this time round, so we'll have to see whether he can continue that and make the move. But again, you go back to it, he's going to be quicker and he's going to have that slipstream getting closer. Is it going to be enough to actually get him past, though? Even with the ballast on the Cambridge, you see Chris Shaw going around the outside of René Butler down towards the Rettifilo chicane. So he's got the move done before they've even gone into the braking zone, and 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the grass slightly there, trying to hold off Aidan Bro with Benjamin Tusting. I think that is behind him as well for close company. And yeah, it's very much these Ginettas. It's almost make this very narrow car as wide as you can, and they almost want to have a wall of them going down the main straight. If these could team up together and see if they can cover the entire track, see if they can stop people from getting past them, because they've just not got the speed to stay with them.
There was a gang of Ginettas, wasn't there, swarming round 𝗤𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 as he was passed by Aidan Bro on the run into the Variante di Rettifilo. But here further back, Filip Matsick in 21st position. In front, he's got Cameron Fife and Simon Wilkes, who was runner-up in the AM category last season. So Matzik's not going to have an easy time of making his third race entry here at Simsport's GT4 Championships. We see 𝗬𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗗𝗏 going round the outside of Adam Isalovic in the second of the two Tron Racing BMWs, and behind Jamie Peters-Ennis and Jack Young going at it. Jack Young in this orange and black Cayman that's up the inside of 𝗬𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗏𝗡 through the first Lesmo. Really optimistic move from the number 900 Porsche Cayman. Looks like he's going to just be able to hold that line through the second Lesmo. But Jamie Peters-Ennis in the 77 McLaren, he's kind of trapped in there now, nowhere to go. Looks to the inside, the left-hand side. They're 3 wide under the old banking here at Monza, heading into Ascari. And Jack Young elects to fight another day and drops behind. But in attempting to make a move, he's lost a position, and we see that so often here in GT4s.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a case of look at the person in front of you, but be very, very aware of the man behind. And Jamie's looking to make another move now. 𝗬𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏 is under an immense amount of pressure. He was going under pressure from the Porsche. Now he's got the McLaren from close company as well. That Audi is doing a fairly decent job, but he holds the inside line into Parabolica, so that's going to shift Jamie Peters-Ennis round the outside, and that shoved him very, very wide. He's understeered like nobody's business. And look at that. He goes one little bit wide on one corner, and he's lost 4 or 5 positions. It's unbelievable.
Well, we have said before that find yourself offline and you'll be passed by the train of cars. And as Simmons tries to scamper away, there's 4 cars locked in battle for position behind, and it looks like Young in the middle has managed to outbrake Jamie Peters-Ennis, and in fact outbrake Simmons. Manages to get the Porsche Cayman stopped, and that's a fantastic move. Definitely lick the stamp and send it. With contact between Simmons, I think that's 𝗏𝗔𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗡 and Jamie Peters-Ennis on the exit of the chicane. That was close. 𝗏𝗏𝗓𝗏𝗡 flashing the lights. He's not happy with the rather aggressive contact between the guys there. A little bit of hit checking going on. But speaking of the train, departing from the station at the moment is Aaron Walker, who at the front of the field leaves by over 3 seconds from 𝗬𝗚𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏. And on that last lap, it wasn't even Walker's best lap, or the best I'm sure he can do in that KTM. He was faster than the Zansho Simsport Cayman by over 0.6 of a second, or just about 0.6. So Walker really is finding his feet in that Cayman. And as Aaron 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏 attempts to go around the outside of 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, well, in fact, he's defending from the Alpine into the Ascari chicane there. Walker's really beginning to stretch his legs at the top of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we knew the K10 was going to be quick. He even said it himself. Like you said, if he can keep out of trouble, that's going to be big towards his chances for a race win, and he's certainly proving that point at the moment. And interestingly, the man we're riding with at the moment, 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏, despite being in one of the faster cars in a straight line, the BMW, he's not necessarily making the moves we'd have expected. Has got Regan Mitchell just over a second ahead, so he'll be hoping he can dispatch him fairly quickly, but it's not really turning out his way at the moment. See Matt Richards on the inside going through the main straight next to Gavin Utley in the Alpine, and then you've got Richard Pixley in the 𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 a little bit further back. He, at the moment, Tim, is going to be extending his lead at the top of the AM category, dependent on the gaps at the top, because Mark Raddenberry, I've seen, is actually in the pit, so I'm guessing he's retired for some sort of issue. Maybe he was caught up in some contact in his first couple of corners.
It did look like we saw the 2 white and blue Dunn Motorsport 𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s going off on the exit of Ascari on that opening lap, so I wonder whether Mark picked up damage and was unable to resume the action. But looking at the order as it stands at the moment, Angus Martin has found himself dropping back slightly, so I wonder if he's been involved in incident. And here, Luka Berk stuck behind Benjamin Tusting, who's been a standout performer this season. We have commented on how fantastically the number 64 McLaren Mob 7 Zansho Simsport driver has been doing. He's really become accustomed very quickly to the level of competition in this series, and he's managed to stand out from the crowd. And at the moment, he's keeping a champion at bay. We see contact between O'Brien and Butler on the run into Ascari, and that's going to allow Rogers an opportunity up the inside of his teammate, and in fact shunted out wide is the 2-1-1 of Rogers. So there must have been another exchange of paint between the cars as they all tried to settle the dispute through the Ascari chicane there. Very close, fine margins between these guys, and actually it looks like Rogers is trying to fight back, or indeed that could be Butler. There's a lot of those. There we go. There's Luke Rogers in the number 211 𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He's finding himself now falling into the clasp of Stein Paspont in the 444 𝗬𝗦𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏 car. René Butler fighting his way. Wow, I mean, he's being passed left and right. That 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗡𝗡𝗏 is falling backwards at the moment. He started up on the front row, but with a McLaren on one side and a Cayman on the other, there's no chance for Butler. But can he fight back on the brakes? He's attempting to do so up the inside and then opts to back out of it through the right-hander. Clever driving from Butler. He needs to score some points. He's had some difficult races, Oulton Park and Donington Park. So bagging a top 10 finish.
Connection lost.
It's failing to connect, restarting TeamSpeak.
Marquez now looking to make the move past René Butler, going down the outside into the Rettifilo chicane. It's certainly the path most travelled, but again, the closing speeds between the two of them, it just means that Butler's behind the BMW in the space of about 100 metres before the braking zone even starts. So certainly a troublesome start for these 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗡𝗏, but one who's not having those issues at the moment, Tim, if you can hear us, is 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏. He's currently sitting in 4th position. He's a second and a half, or just over a second and a half behind Chris Shaw at the moment, but he's still got a bit of a gap back to Michael O'Brien, so he'll be trying to maintain that gap and hopefully try not to fall back into the clutches of everyone else. But Aaron Walker at the moment is in a class of his own.
Yeah, definitely, and Bro's doing exactly what he needs to do at the moment, because with O'Brien behind, Tusting, Berk now making his way past Marquez in the BMW, they're all set up to score some very healthy points, and in those cars you would expect that trio of O'Brien, Tusting and Berk to catch up to Bro just through pace and pace alone of these cars here at Monza. So with 27, just over 27 and a half minutes to go, it's crucial now for Bro's race that he does his best to lay down some very quick lap times and keep that gap as big as it possibly can. But Matt Richards here in 15th in the 44 Zansho car, he's done brilliantly. He started well down the order in outside the top 20, I believe. So to be up to 15th means he must have steered clear of those opening standard dramas that we so often see here at Monza. But if the challenge wasn't already difficult enough for Richards this evening, he's got two Maseratis in front of him. First of them being Mitchell in the 69, and then Paspon in 13th place in the 444 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Maserati. So Richards showing that actually there is maybe some pace in the 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you say that, I'm just watching the distance extend as the Maseratis pull away onto the main straight. But he's certainly doing a decent job at the moment. Like you say, he's got an Alpine in the form of Yannick Müller behind him. They'll be hoping to keep him at bay for a little bit longer. But if there's any cars that the 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏 is going to have a nice time trying to get past, it could potentially be these Maseratis. We've seen they've kind of tumbled down the grid as well. I think it was 4th and 6th. They both started, and you can see the benefit of that little bit of traction control in the 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏 certainly helping as they go in towards, or in through Curva Grande down towards the second chicane. Looks like he has managed to get along the outside of along the inside of Regan Mitchell rather, and gets the move done into the first apex, and that's a very clean move made by Matt. And he's he's certainly proven, Tim, like you say, that the 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is not a slouch, at least in his hands.
Well, and behind, you almost said it whilst trying to say something else, Yannick Müller in behind in 16th at the moment. He's really clawed his way up the standings. I reckon he's been following Richards through as one car makes the pass. He opportunistically, if that's even a word in the English dictionary, dives up the inside and follows through. So these Ginettas do have some speed. We are seeing that they are capable of holding their own, but no doubt that the drivers in any of these G55 GT4s are really giving it everything and giving it everything at the front of the order. Aaron Walker, the gap's now above 5 seconds to 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡, who started to maybe get the hammer down, setting a lap time below the 58-second mark, the 1 minute 58-second mark, I should add, as we see Richards up the inside of Passpont, a very assertive move into the Parabolica, and it looks like the Zansho Simsport driver has got the job done. But as they come round the Parabolica and cross the start-finish line, we're going to see that Maserati just claw all that real estate back and look to the inside on the run down to the first chicane. Richards cannot do anything about it apart from attempt to fight back on the brakes, and look at that, and he does so, cuts back to the inside. What a fantastic move from Richards through the right-hander and through the left. He swoops around the outside of Passpont. Fantastic move from Richards.
Oh, absolutely, and fantastic camera work from broadcaster Steve Proudley there as well. I know he's been practicing the roof cam, and it certainly paid dividends there. What a fantastic camera shot we got there. What a brilliant move from Matt Richards. I was just about to say, I felt like he made the move into Parabolica too early, and I'm sure if we were to ask him about that after the race, I'm sure he'd tell you that was all part of his master plan. But he did a fantastic job, and as you saw there, he obviously got swamped down the main straight, but just took it so late in the day to send a move down the inside, and the fact he managed to get it all stopped and onto the second apex before Stijn Passpont managed to even get alongside him was absolutely incredible.
Fantastic move from Richards, who finished on the podium last time out but was subsequently pushed back down the order following a steward's investigation. But Adam Isalovic here, a driver who did start well down the order, another one of these drivers fighting their way through the pack, but he's not able at the moment to match the pace of his teammate at the Tron Racing squad, Aaron Pilkington, race winner last time out. Actually, looking at their last time by Martin Pilkington, a 57.7, and further down the order, Isalovic over 2.5, nearly 0.3 slower. So Martin Pilkington obviously able to drag the time out of the BMW as we ride on board with 𝗬𝗏 in the Mob 7 Zansho Esport 64 McLaren in the splitter cam provided by Steve Proudley from Simsport Solutions, as we head down towards the first chicane, gaining in the slipstream on O'Brien in front, a championship leader looking to the outside but opting to just tuck back in behind. Maybe that move was an attempt to disturb O'Brien through the retrophilia, and sometimes, David, that's all you need to do. You don't need to make the pass, but rather just scare off the driver in front.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could see he was kind of looking for the inside, wasn't he? And that subtle move is so important because it can completely offset the driver in front of you. Now, Michael O'Brien, of course, has got experience in the real world, so he's not going to be someone you'd imagine who's going to be too harshly impacted by it, as Luka Berk is on the back of this train as well. And we know how assertive he can be when it comes to making moves across the many series you and I have watched him in, Tim. And he certainly doesn't look like he's hanging around at the moment. 𝗬𝗏 is under a little bit of pressure, but he's also going to try and need to make the move on Michael O'Brien as well. I think what he'd be liking to do is to get that move on Michael done and then try and get a bit of a gap in the distance. But at the moment, he's going to be having to do a little bit more looking in his rear mirrors rather than out the front of his window.
So as they run 5th, 6th and 7th on the road, they are 1st, 6th and 2nd in the championship, separated by a measly 36 points as we see up ahead, Bro looking for a way past Shaw. So every position is going to be crucial for scoring points. 36 points sounds like a lot, but one non-score or one finish well down the order and someone finishing right up inside that top 10 could really see the championship standings change around. But as we said, that the gap between O'Brien and Bro might close, as we see Berk looking to the outside of 𝗬𝗏 into the Parabolica, late on the brakes. He's going to try and run a NASCAR-esque line round the outside, but unable to do so that time. Then decides to cut back to the inside on the run out of the Parabolica, but unable to get alongside the McLaren in front. But we were speaking about Bro maybe needing now to really turn it up to 11 and start putting in those laps. And at the moment, he's managing to gap 𝗬𝗓𝗏, and Berk as they battle.
Absolutely, and importantly, he's very much on the back of Chris Shaw. He was a good half a second quicker than him on the last lap. I think the only reason the gap looked a bit bigger in the very, very small glimpse you got of them going down the main straight into the first chicane then was just simply because of the straight line speed differences between the two manufacturers. But he certainly heard us, I would imagine, Tim, and he's certainly turning the wick up on that 𝗬𝗓𝗏, and he's doing a fantastic job, and he's comfortably by far and away the fastest 𝗬𝗓𝗏 on track at the moment. You see the next three down are René Butler, Luke Rogers and Matt Richards, who are all outside of the top 10. So he's certainly doing a good job at the moment, but I think if he does manage to get past Chris Shaw, it's going to be very difficult for him to hold him off. Of course, the slipstream is going to be a very big importance over the next couple of laps if he does get past. And there's just such a monumental gap ahead to 𝗬𝗓𝗏, and then in first place Aaron Walker. He's probably thinking third if he can get to that point, but he's probably going to be his best bet.
For sure, and actually looking at where these cars are developing their pace, it looks like Bro has in fact got past Chris Shaw, so now he's in that final podium spot in third. Looking at the lap times, Aaron Walker is 0.6 faster in this middle sector here at Monza, and similarly Aidan Bro is about 4-5 faster in that middle sector than anyone around him. So those two drivers who are really on the move at the moment are generating lap time through the second chicane and through the two Lesmos, and then are matched in the flat-out blast down from Parabolica to the first corner and from the Ascari chicane through to that final corner at Parabolica. So interesting to see how these cars are generating lap time in a different way. But Luka Berk here in the number 87, trying to get a move done on 𝗬𝗏𝗏, who's trying to get a move done on 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏, who's trying to focus on these two in front, Chris Shaw and Aidan Bro, see if he can get a position on the podium. It looks like Bro, having defended into the first chicane for the first time of asking, might just have enough in the tank to get a sizable gap on the McLaren, if he can indeed maintain that pace advantage through this second sector.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Like you say, I wonder if it's set up that maybe they're hunkered down to get that speed through that middle sector of the lap. Of course, it being a more, not necessarily a slow part of the track by any means. Of course, it's one of the highest average speeds you'd get on any track, let alone in a GT4 and F1 car. But he's certainly got the car set up in a way that seems to be benefiting him through these couple of corners, through the Lesmos and out of that second chicane. So if he can get half a second, maybe a little bit more up the road, as he seems to be doing at the moment, get a couple more car lengths, bit of breathing space behind him, that's going to massively help him. Because if he's 3 or 4 car lengths ahead of Chris Shaw, Chris is going to close that on the main straight. There's no doubt about that.
Definitely. I almost said for sure then, which would have been a great way to round off your point there, David. But yeah, these guys are locked in, and it does look like Bro has been able to extend that margin through the middle sector, crucial then to his defence of that third place. As we cast our eyes further down the order, René Butler, who started on the front row, now finds himself behind Gav Utley in the number 14 Alpine, ahead of Richard Pixley, and in front of these guys it's really the two 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Maseratis that have been causing a lot of problems tonight. I say that in the best ways, not of course that they've been doing anything untoward, but crucially, David, we have mentioned this before and we'll mention it again, that yes, this battle is for 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th, but that 15th place reverse grid pole position is very, very important.
Absolutely, yeah. Staying past point is in what we'd class as the prime real estate towards the end of this race. Amazingly, we've nearly had half an hour, and I can't believe it's flown by so quickly. It's been such an eventful race so far. As you can see in the picture in the corner, Aaron Walker in effectively a league of his own at the moment. We said he said how confident he was coming into this one. He certainly put in the proof in the pudding, as you see René Butler getting a little bit out of shape, a little bit squirrely into the 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 chicane. Nearly collects Gavin Utley, but fortunately manages just to check himself and get out of the way. But Gav Utley at the moment all over the back of that Maserati. Look at the size differential between the two of them, that Alpine and that 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 car, and you can see he's not necessarily got that top end speed, but if he can get to the inside, I wonder if he's going to make an aggressive move. It looks like he will. He's very late on the brakes, but just sits in behind, and again it is one of those positions. See René Butler now trying to make the move up the inside as well. And it is one of those. Look, you've got to either pass or be passed at the moment. As he's trying to make the move into the first Lesmo this time, he's probably got a better chance of it. But again, just has to settle and wait for another couple of corners to maybe try and make the move again.
𝗏𝗡 doing his best to defend what will be reversed grid pole position at Suzuka for round 4, but behind Butler and Pixley, and 𝗦𝗘𝗡𝗡𝗗𝗏, of course, the first to try and attack the Maserati, looking like they want to find a way past. But looking at the timings, David, interestingly enough, whilst you were chatting there, I was just looking at the last lap times, and the driver who looks like he could be still looking for a position is race 2 winner, obviously winner at Donington Park, Aaron Martin Pilkington, on the last time by 5 tenths faster than Berk, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, O'Brien, Shaw and Aidan Brough in front of him. Only the leading 2 drivers were faster than Aaron Martin Pilkington. So in 8th place in the 626 BMW, only 1.1 seconds off the back of season 4 champion Luka Berk. There could be more to come from that BMW.
Oh, 100%, yeah, and he's got the benefit of he's got a bit of clean air. Yes, it's only a second and a half, but it's enough to give him that chance to really open the taps up on that M4 GT4. And obviously we can see on the timing boards that O'Brien, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Berk are all very, very close together. So it's certainly playing towards his favour, and he's going to be hoping to try and garner a few more positions. However, the 3 cars in front of him, yes, the Porsche's got quite a heavy amount of success ballast in the car. I think it's 50 kilos that Scott's. It's the most of any other car, and the McLaren's got 10 kilos in between them as well. It's still not going to be necessarily the easiest thing to do, because not only is he behind a couple of fast cars, he's also behind some very good, very quick drivers as well.
For sure, and as we see Butler closing up massively on the run into the second chicane, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 holding on to this, this is on the back of 𝗦𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, so 𝗦𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 holding on to 16th place, and while he's looking to challenge 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in front, he's being challenged from behind by Butler. So it's close racing, but these guys in battling between them are losing time to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who's almost the golden snitch, the Pandora's box this evening. You want to get after him and get that 15th place. We see it looks like Jenson Button just slipped down the order there, down to 12th. I wonder if he's been passed by Yannick Müller, and Button, who did start outside the top 10. He started in 13th, to only have made up 1 position really does show that he doesn't have the pace he would have liked this evening. And speaking of pace, we have seen Aidan Brough has certainly turned up the wick and is doing a great job of holding on to 3rd place despite the battling behind, which now sees O'Brien lead 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Shaw has dropped back to 6th. So those guys exchanging positions on that previous lap. But with just under 13 minutes to go, Aaron Walker leads the way by over 8 seconds from Will Dendy in the 28 Zansho Simsport Porsche Cayman, and Aidan Brough in the 556 Butler Powell Motorsport. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is 3rd, O'Brien, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Shaw, Luka Berk, and now Aaron Martin Pilkington. You can see on your screen this quintet all close together. As in the bottom corner of your screen, right hand side, you can see that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's got all kinds of squirrely on the exit of the chicane, and that's allowing Gav Utley and Rene Butler to challenge for what is reverse grid pole position next time out. And as they run through the Curva Grande and into the second chicane, Butler going to the outside, Utley looking to the inside. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 holds the middle of the road and is able to keep that position, but you get the feeling, David, that soon these guys are all going to start swapping round as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 ducks to the inside and lets Butler go.
Yeah, I wonder if he got a little bit squirrely coming out the exit of that second chicane there, Tim, as well. But yeah, it was either going to end in a position change or tears. Fortunately, it seems to have ended in the former up until this point, but it's certainly not over yet. And Rich Pixley's going to be sat there licking his lips in 18th place at the moment, thinking, tell you what, if any of these lot come together like they did into the Rettifidio chicane at the start of this lap, he's going to be in the absolute best position possible just to capitalise on it and get himself a couple of positions. But he looks like coming up towards the sky, he's going to try that on Gav Utley. Lex to sit inside. He's got Rene Butler covering the inside into the first apex of the Ascari chicane over Stijn 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and it's difficult to catch your breath with all of this going on as well, isn't it? Because you've got people all over the show, and you can see the Maserati squirming like a good one as it comes out of as it comes off the 3rd apex there. No traction control makes it an absolute unwieldy beast, and something that only the most confident drivers can tame at the moment.
And at the front of the order, Walker really setting the pace. A purple lap time on that previous lap of 56.895 is his fastest of the event this evening, with nearly 10 minutes left on the clock. Meanwhile, it looked like Passpont was challenging Butler, and indeed he has got up the inside, but we saw this before. Can Butler duck to the inside and do a Richards? No, he elects to stay to the outside, risks being passed by 𝗬𝗓𝗓 on the inside, and as they manage to get out of the chicane rather cleanly, it's still the status quo has been maintained, but 𝗬𝗓𝗓 looking like he's trying to get past that 𝗦𝗘𝗓𝗡𝗗𝗏. As we see, in 7th place, Luka Berk handed a drive-through penalty, so the Season 4 champion running competitively inside the top 10 now will have to head to pit lane and trundle down one of the longest pit lanes out there at a very slow speed as the field will just come streaming past. But that's really going to turn the championship on its head.
Absolutely, Tim. You see Rich Pixley going at the inside of Gavin 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗡. I told you he was going to make the most of any chance that he did, and he has done. That's put him up to 17th place, and now he's got 2 positions ahead of him. However, like you said, we've got to keep an eye on Luka Berk. It's going to be one of those where the difference between being in the pit lane and not being in there is going to be enormous. You see, Chris Shaw, interestingly, has dropped down the timing charts as well, so I wonder if he's made a mistake that shifted him down the order, because that's promoted 𝗬𝗏, O'Brien and 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏 all up a position, so he's dropping back into the clutches of Chris Shaw. But yeah, it's one of those. It's the worst. It's probably one of the worst tracks to have this happen to, because the cars who aren't in the pit lane are at such an enormous speed differential. Even the 𝗦𝗘𝗓𝗡𝗏𝗏s, which we've talked about many times, that have been very blessed of the most top speed, they're still going to be so much quicker than him. And you can see there, first time of asking, it looks like he's elected to drop into the pits, and he's already going to be out of the top 10 at least.
And this could be crucial, because if he does indeed drop outside this top 15, he's not going to benefit from the reverse grid next time out at Suzuka. So we'll have to see a Berk masterclass if he's going to fight his way back into some healthy points at the following race. But let's keep an eye on that left-hand side of the screen to see where the 87 𝗘𝗏𝗏 does emerge from pit lane. Yannick Müller now locked in battle with Matt Richards. It looked like Müller was able to get the job done into the first chicane, but round the Curva Grande, Matt Richards is fighting back. He's on the inside, which will become the outside into the second chicane. Richards will have to go late on the brakes, which we know he's capable of doing. They draw up alongside each other. Müller just able to hold the position, but a slight understeer through the second apex has allowed Richards to cut back and into the first of the 2 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏s. Richards manages to get back through and retains the position. He crossed the start-finish line in that position, and after 3-4 corners he's managed to wrestle it back off the Alpine.
Absolutely, nice of you to use my name in context there as well. Very nice indeed, Tim. I can see Luka Berk has actually dropped down to 21st position, so he's going to be miles off that reverse grid pole at the moment. Now then again, we know how quick he is. He's got 7.5 minutes, and 9 to end 50 through to 19th you can see on your screen at the moment. So it's by no means a done deal yet that he's going to be outside of the top 15, and that is going to be his goal right now. It's going to be, look, get past these people. I've got Simon Wilkes, then I've got 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏, and then I've got this big old gaggle of cars in front of me. Get past a couple of them, and remember the chance of being in the best possible position, like you say, for Suzuka next week. And that is going to be one of those tracks that will potentially suit the 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 very nicely, in spite of that ballast. So if he can get up to 15th, fantastic. But of course, there's a big difference between being in Richard Pixley's position of 16th and Rene Butler's of 15th, because of course that would mean you start 16th and first next week. So it's a very close run thing that you need to be very aware of.
And looking at this battle here, 4th, 5th and 6th, but a rather spectacular 6th place position currently for 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏. He's fought his way through from 14th, and indeed absolutely slashed at the gap that was multiple seconds to these the top 5. He's now a couple of tenths off and looking to challenge 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and O'Brien into the second chicane. Martin Pilkington looking to the inside, opts to tuck in behind the McLaren number 64, but it looks like 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has the pace to pass these drivers in front. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get past both these McLarens, such as the speed of that BMW as it stands. But with just over 6 minutes to go, he's going to have to start making these moves, because the McLaren is quick in a straight line. We've spoken about it before. We spoke about it at length in season 4, that 570S GT4 is somewhat of a rocket ship in a straight line. But coming into season 5, it has been handed some ballast. It's in fact taken on 10 kilos, which has just managed to maybe clip the wings of the 570S a little. But Martin Pilkington getting all over the gravel on the exit of 𝗬𝗟𝗡𝗡, that's not going to do him any favours. But as it looks like, 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡ing's trying to challenge O'Brien, and as we've seen so many times this evening, a battle in front is an opportunity for you if you're in behind. Let's see if, or as they decide to just sort things out another time. But Martin Pilkington, David, really looking like the driver who's going to be making some moves in the final 5 minutes.
Oh, he's looking racy, isn't he? And I would love to know how he would have got on had one of these McLarens not been in this position, because I think we saw him going into the second chicane. You mentioned it just for as we came on to shot into the second chicane on the last lap. He was so close to making a move. He almost had to take evading action. As you look, he goes down the outside, very close, a bit of contact. He's caught Benjamin 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡ing. Impossible not to be honest. The amount of closest be between them. Michael O'Brien's been caught up in that as well. They've somehow. I don't know how it's happened, but they've somehow made it through the 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗡 chicane without spinning one of another the wrong way, and it's back to square one. But now you can see you've now got Chris Shaw right on the rear wing of this BMW, and he's looking very racy indeed. The closing speed is quite something. You've got Marquez just behind him, and this train is what we've got, a quintet at the moment, and it could be anyone's race at the moment as to who's going to finish fourth over these next 4.5 minutes.
Shaw looking to the inside out of the exit of the second chicane, and if you can hear this, David, that's me ripping up the rule book, because I have absolutely no idea how those 3 drivers made it through the first chicane cleanly. So I'm sure we'll have some sort of scientific investigation into how that was possible. Fantastic driving from those 3, and now this quintet locked together. Chris Shaw and Marquez now joining the battle. So from 4th all the way down to 8th, they're separated by a matter of, well, it's barely over a second between these 5 cars, as Marquez looks to the outside of Shaw into the 𝗬𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗏 chicane. And if he can get the job done through there, that'll be a spectacular move from the 93 pole Simsport car. No, it looks like he's opted, well, he's rather been forced to drop in behind. But these guys, they're very much going to start exchanging blows, as we've already seen. But that's just giving Bro exactly what he needs, which is more of a buffer. The gap now over 5.5 seconds. We were expecting these guys to maybe just claw back time on the Ginetta, the Butler Powell Motorsport car. But instead, this infighting has actually seen Aidan Bro's podium become more solidified with every passing lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, he's got a 5.7 second advantage. You see Benjamin 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗡ing going down the outside into the 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗡. He tried this last time, courtesy of a little bump from Martin Pilkington. This time Michael O'Brien shaves a little bit of curb on the inside and shifts in behind, so he's not going to make the move stick that time. And it just means that, again, that gap is just going to continue. And I think the top 3 now is all but confirmed, subject to any mistakes that any one of them might make. But this is really the battle we're going to keep an eye on. You see Benjamin 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗡 all over the back of Michael O'Brien. He's been trying to make this move stick for the last couple of laps. You've got Marquez going at the inside of Chris Shaw, going into the second chicane. That BMW's quick. He's managed to get down the inside. We've just nipped away as we kept an eye on what Benjamin's doing at the moment. And battles all over the place, Tim. It's impossible to keep track of.
Yeah, it is. But we're doing our best here. And crucially, Martin Pilkington in 6th. If he can make the move on 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡, he'll have a go at Michael O'Brien, who is championship leader. The gap between Martin Pilkington after that fantastic win at Donington Park is only a gap of 14 points to the Rocket Esports McLaren driver. So there is championship implications of these positions and how they will play out over the remaining 2 minutes. So judging by where Aaron Walker is on track at the moment, obviously our race leader, who's been somewhat unchallenged for the entirety of the past 43 and a bit minutes, it looks like we could have just one more lap as Walker sets a purple time on that previous tour of 56.8. He is absolutely flying at the hands of that KTM. But speaking of flying, these guys in behind are certainly going to start dishing out some punches. Martin Pilkington getting a great run out of the Parabolica. He's tucked into the slipstream of 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏. And as they run across the start-finish line, The Tron Racing 626 car looks to the outside. He's going to try and do a tusting on tusting as they run into the first chicane, but unable to do the job, as it looks like the trio once again keep things clean as Marquez does his best to defend the position from shore. But it's one final time maybe for 𝗦𝗦𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏, and if that opportunity presents itself, he's got to take it.
Absolutely, and we've heard from Aaron a couple of times, haven't we, across the many broadcasts we've done, and he's not afraid to make a move if he has to, and I think he's probably got, I would say, 2 more chances, one of which he's now losing because he's not close enough going into the second chicane. The other one is going to have to be in towards 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, I would imagine. I can't see him making a move anywhere else. If he tries a move into 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, that's going to be brave to say the least. But yeah, it looks like we are onto the final lap, and these three are still separated by nothing more than a blank piece of paper. It's ridiculous how close they've been. And amazingly, Luka Berk, Tim, I can see on the timing tower, has in fact made it into 15th place. Would you believe?
Well, I wouldn't have put any money on that, or probably should have done, knowing how quick the Zansho driver is. But Berk now in that reverse grid pole position, but he's on your screen this evening for what seems like the first time, as the timer hits 0 and the checkered flag will be waved at the end of this lap. It's Aaron Walker in the number 99 KTM who takes victory here at Monza, a deserving victory. He's been absolutely untouchable, but in behind is going to be 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the number 28, scoring some crucial points after starting 11th on the grid to take another podium position in the Cayman. Then behind 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗗𝗏, a very strong showing, the highest of the 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗔𝗏s, and we wouldn't have put any money on seeing a 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏 inside the top 3 after the last round at Donington Park. Then it's Michael O'Brien who manages to hold on to 4th place ahead of tusting, 𝗦𝗦𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Chris Shaw looks like he's going to cross the line just in front of Marquez to take 7th place. Then Matt Richards 9th. Yannick Müller rounds out the top 10 in front of Jenson Button, who comes home challenged towards the end there by Luke Rogers. It looks set to be Squadron Volante's Regan Mitchell, who takes 13th ahead of Johannes Weiss in a 271 Butler Pal Motorsport BMW. Luka Berk taking 15th at the line. He will start on pole position provisionally for Suzuka next time out. Then it's Stijn Paspoort, René Butler, Gav Utley, Philip Batzik, this man on your screen, Richard Pixley ahead of Simon Wilkes, Baz Schilstra. Angus Martin crosses the line in 23rd in the only HF Impala Racing Aston Martin ahead of 𝗬𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏. Jack Young taking home 25th on his debut appearance in the series ahead of Jamie Peters-Ennis. And Cameron Fyfe, a very strong showing from the number 13 Aston Martin once again to pick up 27th. A very strong race indeed. Although there's a couple of scratches on the front of that Aston Martin, we did join him on board and he looked like he was doing a spectacular job. So congratulations to him. And just to rub it in on that final lap, David, as a statement piece as to how dominant he was being, Aaron Walker went faster again, a purple lap time on the final tour of the Monza circuit.
Oh, unbelievable stuff, Tim. I mean, what a race from start to finish. But Aaron Walker was just a class above, wasn't he? I mentioned a couple of times. I mentioned it again. We knew he was confident coming into this one. We knew how quick he thought the KTM was going to be compared to some of the other guys. Of course, it's one of the cars in this series that doesn't have any ballast applied to it. So he's fortunate with that. But even if there was ballast, he just seemed a different level to everyone. I mean, the last lap, like you say, fastest lap, 1:56.7. Closest man on track to that was 𝗦𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who did a personal best of his on the final lap, which was nearly a second slower. So it tells you everything you need to know. But fantastic work for everyone, and a big shout out to 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who seemed to haul that 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 around quicker than I've ever seen anyone or would have expected anyone in that car to do, considering the deficiencies it has around a circuit such as Monza. Fantastic job from him to come through on that final step of the podium as well.
I reckon he had his feet out the bottom Flintstone style and he was pedaling away under there. But interesting to see again, David, that the championship contenders cycled back down the field, obviously owing to the reverse grid, managed to do the job of making those moves in that opening phase. You know, we saw Dendy and O'Brien tusting up there from very early on, making the best of some dramas happening around them, as is so typical of the opening few corners at Monza. But that is so critical, isn't it? Getting past those cars that you finished ahead of and getting yourself into a position to score some brilliant points.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the beautiful jeopardy of a reverse grid race. You're behind people who at the last track were slower than you. And on occasion, they can be quicker, but largely they are going to be a little bit slower than you because obviously you've had that better position, a better race, sorry, in the previous round. So it is one of those where, as you can see on the highlights at the moment, there's so much action going on behind them. You just need to try and keep your nose clean. And Aaron Walker did that fantastically, as did many of the other guys who ended up towards the top end as well. Largely, by and large, it was a very clean race. Of course, we saw a couple of incidents, which of course mean that the results you've seen this evening will always be provisional, subject to stewards' inquiries, of course. But largely, the racing was absolutely fantastic, and we've had a fantastic display of racing put on this evening.
So we're joined now in the commentary booth by our podium finishers this evening, Aaron Walker, 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡 and 𝗖𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏. And I'll come to the man of the moment, Aaron Walker first. I mean, what a fantastic showing from yourself. I think you knew, though, coming into this evening's race that it might have been yours to lose, but you did exactly what you needed to do this evening, got out in front and really stretched your legs.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, that's exactly it. I knew I just had to keep it clean at the start. The KTM is a little bit OP at Monza, if anything. I mean, if the cars haven't got ballast, it's a very good match with, say, the BMW or the Mercedes. But yeah, no, I knew I just had to keep it clean and then just pull away from 𝗦𝗘𝗏, who I can't believe, to be honest, who is in second place. In fact, I'm not sure if it's more amazing that 𝗦𝗏 in the Porsche is in second place or Aiden has finished third in a Ginetta. So well done, guys.
But we saw you, though, at points during that race, Aaron, really stretching your legs, like I say, and extending that gap to 𝗦𝗏. But in a championship where you've missed out on the first race, is this important to you to really assert a challenge towards the title with a strong result this evening?
I mean, what more can you do? I mean, you just have to finish as well as you can in every race. Obviously, like you say, I've missed the first one. I'll just continue to do my best in every race. And to be honest, as long as I'm enjoying it, I don't mind where I finish.
And looking forward to the next race at Suzuka, obviously, with the reverse grid in place, you will be starting right down towards the midfield. How do you feel about the next event?
I like Suzuka. To be honest, I can't remember what the KTM's like there. But it's an enjoyable track. The grip's very low. I'm sure there's a car out there it suits. Hopefully it's one without any ballast.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Aaron. And once again, congratulations on your race win this evening.
Thank you, Tim.
And I'll speak to 𝗦𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗡 next, second place finisher. Will, as Aaron alluded to there, to fight your way through from 11th to finish on the podium, you must be very happy with that result at Monza.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. Thanks, Tim. I knew as soon as I got through to the front that there was no chance I was catching Aaron. So I just thought I'd keep it clean, not hit any curbs, not push too hard, and just keep it consistent, really. But massive congratulations to Aaron. He's been rapid in testing. I knew there was no chance I was going to catch him. And yeah, I'm shocked to see Aiden in third. I was watching my times, seeing if there'd be any attacks from behind, and seeing Aiden moving up. I was amazed, really, and he kept the gap static to Michael behind him, so he really had some pace today. So yeah, it was super fun. Time went really fast, and just thanks to Zansho and thanks to Nick for such great engineering, and also my teammate Luka. We've been working hard on setup together, and it's really paid off. So unlucky that he didn't have a great result, but yeah, super fun.
He actually got 15th place at the line, so he is on reverse grid pole. So I'm sure he'll be able to pull out the bag next time. But speaking about the start of the race, obviously you made up a handful of positions. The age-old adage is that you can't win the race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. And with this reverse grid, how important is making it around those first couple of laps cleanly?
I think it's really important. I think one thing that I find differs from simming to real life is, in real life, you have to go in quite fast. Otherwise, you cause a huge concertina by the time the back of the field's there. So, you have to kind of push on and brake quite aggressively. Everyone braked quite early, and I just kind of slotted through the middle of them all. So I got quite lucky there. I think, some of the other guys didn't manage to get through the pack and got stuck behind people because I think the bop on this track was so close. All the cars were really even. So, the race stayed kind of static after the first few laps. So yeah, I got quite lucky there, really.
Well, brilliant. Well, looking forward to the race next week at Suzuka. How do you think the Porsche Cayman, obviously with 50 kilos of ballast, will fare at the Japanese circuit?
So yeah, Tim, I think the Porsche is kind of good everywhere. It's not amazing anywhere. It's kind of a jack of all trades, I think. So it's really raceable throughout the race. It's consistent. It's kind to its tires. It's just a good all rounder. It doesn't set the world on fire in terms of out and out pace, but the car's so raceable and follows well and good on the brakes. It's a real step up from the Aston that I used last year, and it's taken me a few races to kind of get the setup to my liking with a lot of front end. So I think it will be really strong at Suzuka. It's kind of just good everywhere. So hopefully it'll be another good result. But I think Luka's probably got his name on the trophy for that one already.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, Will, and congratulations on your result.
Cheers, Tim.
And we head over to 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗏, third place finisher, and somewhat of a surprise result, would you say, Aidan? The Monza circuit not leaning towards the strengths of the Ginetta.
Oh yeah, no, it was very, very sketchy to say the least. I really trimmed out everything I could on the Ginetta just to try and negate some of the losses, because we were actually around, I think as my teammate in the BMW, one of the 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗡 guys, turned around and said that the Ginetta was actually 20 kilometers an hour down going into turn one.
Wow.
Which is just absolutely nothing you can do about it. And even though the Ginetta is super good on the brakes, I still don't even think that sort of negates that fully. It's mainly the middle sector where it helps, but definitely a surprise, because I'll be completely honest, I hadn't done any laps until about 45 minutes before the race. I'm very surprised, and I'll be honest, it feels like a win. I'm not joking.
Fantastic job. Well, maybe a little bit more practice next time, and you might see yourself challenging Will and Aaron. No, I jest. And you alluded to there about the middle sector. We were looking at the timing screens during the race, and at times Aaron was about 7/10 faster than anyone else in that middle sector. But further down the order, yourself and indeed Aaron Martin Pilkington were very quick in that second sector, which involves the second chicane and all the rundown through to Ascari. Are you aware of that kind of pace difference when you're in the car? Do you know that, okay, this is the strong point on the track? And do you change how you drive knowing that, you're picking up pace in certain areas?
Yeah, I mean, I knew the Ginetta was going to be good through there. I think the benefit the KTM has is that the limit is a bit better. So whereas the Ginetta tops out just after you come out of the past the pit lane, so you're topping out all the way down there. So you've really got to maximise every braking point and be on it literally the whole lap. Even though there's quite a lot of places to rest, you've got to be ready for that exact point to brake as late as you dare, and the rear end squirreling all around you because you've got no rear wing on, and then when it gets to that middle sector, it's about just making sure you hit every apex, don't make any errors. And I was keeping an eye massively on the guys behind, because to keep Michael and Luka and Tustin at bay, seeing the gap come down to around 1.5 seconds and then go back up to just above 2 out of that middle sector, I knew that was where it was going to be strong. And then they just clawed the time back. I would gain it, and it'd ebb and flow. So it was just making sure I did the perfect lap, or as perfect a lap I could do, whilst not making any mistakes at the same time.
Another consistent finish from yourself, again up the order, halfway through the season now. Are your thoughts turning to maybe challenging for the title?
It'd be nice to be able to be up the top again. I mean, in the first season, I think I finished 3rd overall. Last season, I was 4th overall. So I'm going backwards. I need to go the other way and try and go 1 or 2 better, and try and get into the top 2 or even the championship spot. But these guys are all so fast, and every week everyone turns up absolutely on it. So it's just a relief to be able to get some good results in such a strong field, and with all the Sancho guys coming over, that just adds another caliber of driver into the mix. If there wasn't enough already with Aaron and Stephen Haley and the likes of those guys, it was already fast as hell before, and it's alien speed now.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Aidan, for joining us in the commentary box. And indeed, I extend those thanks to Aaron Walker, Will Dendy, and 𝗦𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗡, and your podium finishers this evening at Monza.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, great stream again.
Thank you. So, David, an exciting review from the top three there. And what we really learned was that they all had to lean on the individual aspects of their car, and that sometimes steering clear of a battle was just as important as getting stuck in one.
Absolutely, and yeah, you proved the point in the fact that GT4s is not exactly the easiest thing to do that with. I was particularly pleased that Aidan managed to corroborate my theory that the 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗗𝗏 was about 20 kilometers slower than the BMW, so I'm quite pleased that came out to benefit my theory from earlier on this evening. But yeah, it was interesting, like you say, to hear the fact that they were all, to an extent, running quite different races, but managing it in a similar way, if that makes sense. So yeah, brilliant work from all of them. Of course, like I say, Aaron was a class above, and I think everyone understood that and knew how quick he was going to be coming into this, and he's clearly proven that point. But fantastic work from Will to get on the podium with the amount of ballast he's carrying in that Porsche, and again, incredible scenes from Aidan to pull that 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗏 as far up as he did as well.
And looking forward to next week. So in a week's time, we'll be going racing at Suzuka on the 24th of March. So if you do want to tune in, then make sure you like and subscribe to Simsport Racing on YouTube, so you keep up to date and know when we're going racing. But looking forward to that race, David, a completely different track to the one we've raced at tonight. What are we thinking? Are we going to see Luka Berk run away at the front of the field, or are we going to see potentially some challengers climb their way up the order?
Well, like you say, yeah, it's going to be all eyes Luka Berk, isn't it? Of course, yeah, he was very fortunate. I think it was a coming together between Butler and Passpont that meant he managed to gain that 15th place, because he was 17th coming on to the final lap. So it'd be interesting to see if I can catch a replay and see exactly what happened there. But it is going to be all eyes on him. Like Will said, the Porsches it's a jack of all trades. It's not necessarily amazingly quick at any particular circuit, so the ones around him are going to be the ones to keep an eye out for as well. So there's a chance he can run away with it. We know how quick he is in that Porsche, of course, from you and I having done other series in the past with him as well. But I wouldn't discount any of the top 5 or 6, or even a couple of those down towards the lower of the top 15, because Suzuka is one of those tracks where there's a lot of overtaking spots. It's going to be a fantastic spectacle to watch, I've no doubt.
Well, thank you again, David, for coming along for the ride this evening and joining me in the commentary box. I think we've both earned our dinner this evening. Thanks again to Steve Proudly, broadcast director, for helping us witness the action all through the grid tonight. But if you enjoyed what you saw this evening, then certainly set your timers for next week as we head to Suzuka for round 4 of season 5 GT4 here at Simsport Racing. From David and myself, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.